Gustav Heinrich Ralph von Königswald wondered about migration routes of the earliest humans. In 1953, he searched for evidence in the Philippines and found stone tools belonging to an unknown manufacturing industry. In 2018, the idea that human ancestors reached the Philippines long before Homo sapiens was finally confirmed. Near Kalinga on Lucen Island, a site was identified where rhinos were defleshed by early humans already more than 700,000 years ago.
Cagayan Valley has two of the earliest prehistoric sites in the Philippines. On the east side of the valley is the Kalinga site, which has the earliest indirect evidence of human presence at 709,000 years ago. On the west side is the Calao Cave Complex, where the Homo luzonensis site is located, and it has been dated to 67 to 110,000 years old. Prehistoric sites can be protected and utilized at the same time if the story of the site itself is made relevant and value is created for the community that currently lives within or around it. The best way to do this and to discover new sites even is to involve the community in the process of conservation and research, and to have an open and two-way communication system with them.
In 2019, a new species of humans, Homo luzonensis, was described from Calao Cave in the north of Lucen Island. The bone and tooth fossils excavated in the cave deposits dated to around 70,000 years ago.
2015, that we discovered more fossil hominins, and the whole assemblage is now 13 elements, and this is what we published under the new species name Homo luzonensis in 2019. And among those elements, fossil elements, some striking specificities are found on the teeth, for instance.
The teeth are very diagnostic to determine the species. And in the case of Homo luzonensis, the premolars are proportionally larger than the molars. So the cheek teeth have very unusual proportions, and also a very simple morphology of the front, so the part that is visible in the mouth. But the roots, part hidden inside the mandible or the maxilla, are very archaic or primitive, similar to what we see in Homo erectus, for example.
Some of the other fossils belonging to Homo luzonensis are also very striking in terms of morphology. For instance, the foot phalanx, one of the foot bones, is very primitive in its shape and morphological attributes, and it might correspond to bipedal locomotion, but also the ability to climb on trees, etc. But what is very interesting is all those features, which are very unusual for the genus Homo, they probably correspond to the evolution of the species in an insular environment.
Islands often trigger fast evolutionary processes. The phenomenon of island dwarfing is known from pygmy elephants and hippos. It was a stunning surprise when bones of small-brained hominins were discovered in an archaeological excavation on the island of Flores in 2003. They are dated from around 90,000 years ago, yet they resemble hominins from 2 million years ago. Their last appearance is around 50,000 years ago. Many questions arose. Did they meet modern Homo sapiens? How did they get to Flores, an island that has never been part of a mainland? Why did they become extinct?
One of the big puzzles about Homo floresiensis is, where did it come from? Who were its ancestors? There are two ideas about this. One is that it came from hominins that lived in Africa 2 to 3 million years ago. Perhaps they looked something like this. The other is that it dwarfed from Homo erectus in Java. Dwarfing in human evolution is a novel idea. We haven't seen it before, but we do know that species of animals, when they get to islands, can dwarf. But more and more evidence is showing us that Homo floresiensis was much more archaic than Homo erectus. and that Homo erectus had no part in the evolution of Homo floresiensis.
Homo luzonensis and Homo floresiensis, or their predecessor Homo erectus, had to be able to cross water barriers. They had to expand across the Wallacea, a biogeographic region full of islands and a lot of water in between. According to present water current directions, it seems that they had to come from the north, not from the west. A specific computer modelling approach may help to simulate the expansions across sea areas before boats were invented.
Wouldn't it be nice to just travel back in time to watch how early hominins crossed the sea strait? Unfortunately, this is not possible, but we can simulate it. Here we apply agent-based modeling, in which agents representing early hominins attempt to cross sea straits. In the model, we consider factors of physiology, perception, demography, as well as water temperature and oceanic currents. The agent-based model provides an experimental context that allows us to test how early hominins, such as Homo floresiensis or Homo luzonensis, could have expanded onto the islands of Southeast Asia.
New species developed on Flores and Luzon. But what happened on Java, where Homo erectus had lived almost 1 million years earlier already? Gustav Heinrich Ralph von Königswald in 1931 was assigned to photograph new human fossils discovered near Ngdong, only a few kilometers north of Trinil, where Dubois found Pithecanthropus in 1891. The Ngdong skulls had big brains but massive brow ridges. Are they late Homo erectus or early Homo sapiens? The answer depends on establishing a secure geological age. Von Königswald couldn't even dream of the scientific possibilities we have today.
The main problem with the site of Ngdong in Java has always been its age. Most scientists will agree that it's the last appearance of Homo erectus in the fossil record and that it's highly significant, but the age has always been contentious. This is because most people have concentrated on the age of the fossils themselves and really not looked at how it sits within the wider landscape. So when we came to date the site, we realised that we were going to have to take a much broader approach and look at how the site fits within the wider landscape. So we had a look at the terrace system within the Solar River Valley, and were able to date the terraces to kind of constrain the site of Ngdong itself, and then also looked at excavating to really identify the main bone layer where the Homo erectus fossils were found. So by using all these techniques, we were able to establish the age of this bone bed to be 117 to 108,000. Now, if we take the age of Sangaran to be about 1.3 million years, and then all the way down to around 110 for Ngdong, this means that Homo erectus was surviving on Java for at least 1.2 million years. Now, this is a staggering achievement for any species to be surviving for this long, but the fact that they were surviving on such a tiny island as Java is truly remarkable.
If Homo erectus survived until at least 100,000 years ago on Java, the question is, when did Homo sapiens arrive? Did they ever have a chance to meet? The answer might be yes. The evidence comes from a site near Punung, about 80 kilometers away from Ngdong. Von Königswald recovered modern human teeth from Punung in 1938. But for applying modern dating techniques, his original site had to be rediscovered first. Finally, in 2003, a Dutch-Indonesian team was successful.
In 1997, I published an ERI article entitled Fossils from the Hot Hell of Java. A man called Bosca Erbrink, who was present during the Punung excavations in the 1930s, reacted and expressed his willingness to help to locate the original sites. In 2003, our joint Indonesian-Dutch team rediscovered the 2 original Punung sites and documented fossils in situ from a tropical rainforest at a new site, Gunung Jabung. Because so little has been researched in the area of Punung and the ease with which we have found fossils from a tropical rainforest fauna, my expectation is that there are many more Braxias with fossils. It is definitely worth the effort to look for hominin remains in the cave Brexias.
With the original site of Punong rediscovered, Kira Westerway was able to date the deposit and the fossils it contained. She came up with an astonishing age.
The site of Punong in Java contains a fossil breccia containing a modern rainforest fauna with animals such as orangutan, sun bear and gibbon. And we were able to establish the age of this site by dating the cave breccia, and we got an age of 128,000 to 118. Now, this really marks a major change within Java when it moved from much more drier glacial conditions to the interglacial, which was much warmer and wetter. Now, cave deposits can be notoriously difficult to date. This is mainly because you get sediments from outside the cave combining with sediments inside the cave, and also fossils from outside and inside, all combining in a big mixture within the cave itself. So we've overcome a lot of these problems by applying multiple dating techniques to the sediments and also to the fossils themselves, and hopefully try to pull it together into a complete story. Now, using this kind of approach, we've been able to date sites such as Lida Aya in Sumatra, which contains evidence of anatomically modern humans by two teeth. So we applied these techniques and got an age of 73 to 63,000 years ago, which really does represent the first arrival of modern humans in Southeast Asia.
If Homo sapiens was present very early in insular Southeast Asia, what about mainland Asia, which was covered by a large rainforest in the south and was difficult to cross for Homo sapiens?
So our fossils from Tampaling are dated from about 35,000 to as much as 70,000 years old. And so we have modern humans who are in the area very early. And this is earlier than we have ever found modern humans on the Indo-Chinese Peninsula.
So with Tampaling, with these individuals present at the site around 50,000 to 70,000 years ago, we know for sure that modern humans were in the region at least already 50,000 years ago. It means that these modern populations left Africa much earlier than we previously thought.
How did Homo sapiens utilize the rainforest? There's a great deal that we don't know about how early people were living, because at Tampaling we have no archaeological or macrofaunal evidence, but paleoenvironmental reconstructions indicate that during the time modern humans were most likely arriving in the region, so sometime during MIS 5, that it was a complex habitat that had areas of both rainforest and open woodlands, and that would have supported a lot of game of all sizes. And they would have been both available and exploitable on the ground, as well as a high production of plant materials that would support both the game biomass as well as humans. And so this is a time when we see evidence of modern humans expanding into South Asia and Central and Southern China and Java, and with the Indo-Chinese Peninsula being a crossroads on this migration.
Evidence is mounting that Homo sapiens arrived in Asia much earlier than previously thought, and it seems that modern humans could have arrived in Java even before Homo erectus disappeared. What does all this mean?
Evidence is growing that modern humans emerged from Africa at an earlier time than about 60,000 years ago. We have remains from Western Asia, from Greece, from China, from Australia that suggest there were earlier exits of modern humans from Africa. And in particular, we've got the evidence even from Australia that humans may have reached there, modern humans may have reached there by 65,000 years ago. But the genetic evidence is very strong that the exit at around 60,000 years was the main contributor to the genomes of people outside of Africa today. So that must mean that those earlier dispersals were overprinted, that genetic traces of those early dispersals have more or less disappeared from the modern human genomes today.
Whereas the search for the origins of modern humans continues, one issue is settled. All of us modern humans today are part of the one big human family.